Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to spool line on a line counter reel. Now first things first, what is a line counter reel? A line counter reel is a reel that has a gauge on it that tells you how far out your bait is from your reel. I like using this style of baitcaster when I'm dragging for catfish. That way I can have it go out 60 feet between the bait and a planer board, and then go out another 60 feet to have the planer board 60 feet away from the boat and the bait 120 feet away from the boat. These types of reels are also good for bottom bouncing, so you can see how far down your bait is when you're bouncing on the bottom. And having a low profile line counter can help with that. It's also good for trolling, so you can see how far back whatever bait you're trolling is from your rod and reel. Now the first step of putting line on a line counter reel is putting the reel on a rod. This is my first step. I mean, this is how I do it. If you have like a lining machine, then you don't need a rod. You can just put the reel on a lining machine. Lining machines are expensive. They're over $1,000 from what I'm told. So what I use for a lining machine is a chain and a big spool of line. In fact, the line I'm using here is Andy Monster 30-pound line. This line. And I'm using a big spool because I have multiple rods and reels that I need to spool up a line. So I need a ton of line. And I tell you what, this stuff is really strong. I really like it. I think that if you caught an IFGA record, it would be disqualified because this line is stronger than 30 pounds. That's a fish record keeper that goes by weight of fish and weight of line, or strength of line. Now with this being monofilament, I don't have to have it on the reel really tight. If you're using braided line, it would have to be very tight. This is one of the many reasons I like using monofilament. It is cheaper to buy than braid. It is easier to put on the reel. And because I am a fishing guide, there's less likely of a chance of it cutting someone's finger off. I get a lot of people that don't fish that much, so they don't know about braid. And if I don't warn them to not wrap the braid around their finger, they might do it someday and they will lose a finger. That is why I try to use monofilament on everything. Now, there is one problem that I'm already having here is it does slinky a little bit, even this Andy Monster, which means it's wrapping around the chain right now while I'm trying to get it on the reel. But that's not that hard to fix. I just have to play with it a little bit. I might have to take the chain off too. I'm just trying to get enough to show you how to tie it on the reel. Now the first thing to tie it is make an overhand knot on the very end. So I get that little bitty knot. I'm going to cut it off as close to the end of that knot as possible. Just overhand knot. And this is like any other baitcaster. I mean, I know I'm saying line counter on this video, but this is basically how you do any baitcaster. Come on, give me some line. Well, I'm going to have to deal with this real quick. Now, you don't have to use a chain like what I'm using. If you can find something else to go through the hole, use it. A stick, anything works. I'm just using what I have on hand. Alright. Now, back to getting it back on the reel. I like to get the eye in the center And then take the line, put it through the eye, go below everything, and then you have to fish it out of here with your fingers. The bigger the reel, the easier this is to do. There, I have it through the eye. Now I'm going to have to go back through and try to push the line over the top. And I'll grab it, try to grab it with my finger. There we go. So there's a loop. One side of this loop is going to the main line, and the other side is going underneath to this tag end. I find the main line. That's not the main line, that's the main line. Because I'm holding it here, I can feel which one's tight. So, main line. What I want to do is take this tag end and do just an overhand knot over that main line. And I'm doing this one-handed, which is going to make it even more difficult. So I got to do two-handed. There we go. Come on. And cinch it down. And then I just pull it through. Make sure it's not wrapped on anything on the outside. And you pull it, and it will tighten. And now you got a very, very strong connection to your spool. That little bitty knot is getting bound in that other knot that I made to hold it in place. And now would be a good time to make sure I get the line through every eye properly. Because I have missed an eye before in the past, and it hinders your casting when you do that. Now, just reel it up, making sure that it doesn't get on the chain again, which it just did. Now, I could cram a screwdriver or something in there to give it some tension. You don't have to give it much, but a little bit of tension does help. That should help slow it down a little bit. I'll take my fingers and, make sure the first little bit's tight. Also, tighten down the drag. A new reel like this, the drag should be loose. And then just reel it up. I think I'll keep my finger on it. There we go. Okay. There we go. A little bit of blue on my finger. There you go. Lined up, ready to go. Although I might have a bit too much line on here. And there's a little bit to the side. But, hey, it happens. You probably want to put less line on yours than what I put on mine. It is kind of dark in here, so. But this should work. This is only for dragging. And I will lose line over time as I hit snags. Well, yeah, there we go. Now, this is an Okuma Coldwater. It is the new style. They just recently come out with these. At least, it's January of 2025 right now, so a couple of years from now, hopefully they'll still be around. It should be. They've had Coldwaters for a long time, and they decided to upgrade them. They changed it a little bit and added better stuff inside. It makes a really good catfish reel, especially if you like to drag. And one more thing I forgot to show you. I'm actually putting the rod clamps on here. So I got an Okuma Coldwater with a rod clamp on the Okuma Cat Slayer Custom Rod, the orange one. This should be a very, Very interesting setup. I did have the older version of Coldwater on here, and I've replaced them with the newer version on my dragging rods. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel to see what I actually catch on this rod and reel combo. Now, as always, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to actually watch this video. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope some of you learned something new. That is one of the reasons why I do these videos. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you next time.